Now it's reconnected. I hope you can see this image in front of me that I'm holding for you. This is an image of 14-year-old Emmett Till. This is what he looked like before he was killed in Monty, Mississippi. All right, I hope you can see that. Before he goes to Mississippi, after. Nails, you see? Before, after, before, after. So let's jump right into this. Okay, Emmett Till, for those of y'all that don't know, during the Jim Crow era, during those times where we were living in segregated areas in the state of Mississippi, which is still pretty segregated, his mom, who lived in Chicago, and at the time, race relations were just a little bit better in the North than they were in the South, but they weren't great, okay? We probably had the most rights in California, believe it or not. So he goes down to Mississippi to visit his family. He's from Chicago. There's a few white kids that go to school with them if they don't have as much money. And we're talking about the North. So he comes down to Mississippi, to Monty, Mississippi. For those of y'all that don't know geographically, Monty, Mississippi is in the Delta, which if you know your geography should be at the bottom of the state, but it's at the top because that's where the silt deposits go, okay? The bottom of the state is called the coast because it's on the coastline, and that's what everybody calls it, all right? Again, I'm from Texas, but I spent a lot of time in Mississippi. So he goes to Mississippi, and there is a lot of speculation on whether he either said something to Mrs. Carolyn Bryant, who lives in Greenville, Mississippi. I don't know if she's still alive, but she was last year, okay? She's responsible for this. Emmett Till will be 65 years old this year, okay, if he had lived. Okay, so the speculation is maybe he eyeballed her. She claimed that he whistled at her and said something. There's been speculation that he may have reached out for her hand. And there is also speculation that he didn't actually even say anything to her. He just looked at her, okay? Nobody knows why she went back and told her husband what she went and told him. She told her husband that a young black male whistled at her inside of a store, okay? This baby was 14 years old. And why am I speaking on this today? Because this directly correlates with the anger and fear that African Americans have for the police in our country. Why? Emmett Till was a 14-year-old boy. All right, Klansmen came to this baby's house. They told his family that if you don't allow us to take this one, we're going to kill everybody in here. So his family had to make a choice. They allowed those men to take Emmett out of the house. It is also speculated that they took one of his family members with them to verify everything that they did to Emmett so he could go back and tell the other blacks so they could stay in their places, okay? So they take this young man out. We don't know what all they did to him. But when they pulled his body out of the river, like I showed y'all, the after picture. He was castrated, he was beaten, he was hung. And then after he was castrated, beaten, hung, tortured, they tied a fan blade around his neck and threw him in the Tallahatchie River, okay? If y'all don't know what that's called, it's the thing that, Ron Paul's son doesn't want to outlaw. It's a thing called lynching. Lynching is not just the act of hanging somebody or taking their life. It's the act of humiliating them, torturing them, just downright ugly stuff, okay? Like his testicles may have been removed before he was killed because when they found his body, his 14-year-old body, they were not there. That's a lot of things they don't put in the history books. They don't want you to know how gruesome this murder actually was. And it happened to a child, a 14-year-old child. Okay, so these men kill Emmett Till. It's not the end of this story. So the family reports these are the men that did it. Matter of fact, they were proud. They went and turned themselves in and said, yeah, we killed that little uppity nigger. That's exactly what they said. And they went to trial and admitted what they did, and they were acquitted by an all-white jury. They admitted what they did to this kid. They admitted it, and they were acquitted. No punishment, no penalty, no reason or rhyme why his life didn't matter. And so when you say that we don't have a right to say that our lives matter, when you say back the blue, it just reminds us of the old wounds. The fact that a 14-year-old boy was able to be murdered and his killers admitted it and they were acquitted. It's just like Tamir Rice. It's just like the killing of Trayvon Martin. And it's just like countless and countless and countless times we've witnessed police officers killing black men on camera. Or what about Sandra Bland that's hogtied and brought into a jail like she's a harvest pig? Are we not people? Do we not bleed? And these are things that we have to go and explore about our history so we're able to move past those scars, just like they did in Germany. Okay, they dealt with their harsh reality. When you go to Germany, Holocaust statues and monuments and everything is in your face, so you can see it, so it never repeats itself. But in America, racism is celebrated. They have a flag. They have their own racist flag that says, hey, I hate you because of your skin tone. All right? Just like I said in my first video, that flag was never flown as the official Confederate flag. It was the battle flag. And then it was flown again in support of Jim Crow. Jim Crow is segregation. This kept blacks in a subservient position. Okay? I was debating on what I would talk about tonight with the anniversary of the Tulsa race riots, the 99th anniversary of that. Yes, and Donald Trump wanted to have his rally around all of this, and we're coming to terms with these ugly scars that we have about our own history. So if you want to see this, it's all in a book. I'm lucky enough to live with an author, to grow up with a wonderful grandmother who grew up during this time. And she has a book which she writes about all of this, and I'm still wondering how my Nana didn't end up hanging from a tree, called Growing Up Jim Crow. I mean, it's real life. It's everything that she told me growing up as a child, from you can't go swim in the white pool that's a few feet down from your house, and why you have to address people a certain way, and why, you know, I was told at an early age, sometimes don't make eye contact with a white person. Why? Why are we still having to have these conversations with our children? So hopefully we can learn from our past and grow. Y'all be good now.